To the courthouse now. The courts ordered a Minot man to serve life in prison without the chance of parole in the killing of his former roommate. Here's my report from today's emotional sentencing hearing in Minot.
To serve a sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole.
In a case that has spanned more than 4 years, a judge imposing North Dakota's most severe sentence against Shawnee Queirolo. In August, a Stark County jury convicted Queirolo of murder in the 2020 death of his former roommate, Queirolo, a civil engineer who had moved to Minot for work. Queirolo's brother testifying remotely, saying she was killed shortly before she was supposed to be treated for brain cancer.
Although scared of the thought of losing Alice, my resolve was strengthened by the courage I'd seen her display. Alice never got that opportunity, and we never got the opportunity to be there for her.
He fought back tears, talking about her impact on his life.
The legacy she left is of loving kindness, of compassion and understanding, of determination and perseverance, of selflessness, and the ability to inspire others.
Queirolo maintained his innocence and told the court he was on drugs during the first trial.
I was high on methamphetamine during my jury trial, and I think I'm due a new trial.
That request denied. In calling for a sentence of life without parole, the prosecution referencing the jury's verdict.
Some of these jurors have felt so strongly about this, Your Honor. We are actually joined here today by a member of that jury who came in all the way from Dickinson to follow this case through to the end.
Judge Stacey Lauser going with the state's recommendation.
The murder of Alice was premised on nothing more than your own selfish desires. There was no provocation from Alice. Rather, this was a tragedy and a life sentence for Alice's surviving family.
The court also ordered Queirolo to have no contact with the Queirolo family. Now, Queirolo has already filed an appeal in the case. The state Supreme Court issued a stay on the appeal until today's sentencing.